Okay, and so someone is asking, in as far as careers for young people in banking, how do you see that evolving? Is it going to be mostly digital, or how do you see a young person like Becky and the rest that are coming into the banking sector? What has changed from when you first joined? How is it evolving, and where do you see it going?
Well, I think, first of all, I would agree that we're hiring a lot more tech people than we did before. When I joined NIC, we were about 11 people in IT. We grew that to about 28 by the time we merged. Now, as a merged entity, we have about 150, and we are recruiting. So I think all that is not because of our size. It really has to do with the change of business. It's becoming a lot more digital, more technology-driven. Internal operations are moving to being automated. Mike talked about artificial intelligence. We are using quite a bit of artificial intelligence. So that's what we are seeing today. So I think there are opportunities there. I would say the other thing is that relationships will never go out of fashion, no matter what. So relationship management, which is big bank business, will never go out of fashion. So I think opportunities there as well, about there as well. I was just in the United States, and I mean, all the banks are on a hiring spree, absolutely. They're closing branches, yet they're on a hiring spree, which tells me that's a phenomenon we are going to see here as well, that we'll have more people coming to the banking sector, more products being created, more of it being digitized, but also internally, people demanding faster and better service. And for that, you need people to do that job better. So I think the opportunities will keep expanding.
So what I'm reading is, correct me if I'm wrong, is there are jobs. We just have to get to match the qualifications with the jobs that there are, and not look at the economy as not having jobs. Absolutely.
I would very much, I would take a double on that.
Okay. Then there is the question of the merger. Some people say, still remember the challenges that there were. I bank with, my bank was NIC, so now I'm NCBA. And I too have to say that I experienced some challenges when you first merged. Some people might argue that some are ongoing, but others feel that you've come a long way. Walk us through that. It wasn't easy, but it has been done. People admire that, but they have to agree too that there was some challenges.
No, thank you for that, and thank you for being a customer. And from what I can tell now, a happy one.
Yes.
From last year, I'm glad to hear that. Well, I think what you saw last year was the real year of our integration. You take two large banks and you merge them together. And we decided to do some very difficult things that large banks don't do when they merge. And that was to merge our base systems, or a cooperating system. If you look at large banks, when they merge, they usually keep their systems separate, and they would build a middleware that connects the systems. And so you as a customer, you think it's one bank, but actually there are multiple systems running. Rebecca said she's in South Africa. I used to work for ABSA, and I can tell you there are many systems running, except they had middleware. To the customer, it looked like one, because they were, ABSA came from the word amalgamated banks of South Africa. There were many banks that were put together. And that's what you find in when large banks merge. We made the decision that for us to be able to offer seamless service, for us to be able to continue with our creativity, for us to be able to develop our digital platforms, we needed to have all customers on one system. And that is the process we went through last year. And that was the most painful process one can undertake. So yes, Irene, you're right, it was painful. We've made a lot of progress since then. We have merged every other system that now connects to that core banking system. There are a few still remaining. If you're with us, like you, Irene, you'll see that your mobile app is probably still one of the historical ones.
Yes.
So if you came from NIC, you probably still have the NIC one. If you came from CBA, you still have the CBA one. Very soon, you're going to be merging them into one in the next couple of months. And that is now bringing everybody so that you enjoy the same service. We take the good that one organization had and the good that the other had, and we're putting that together to give that to our customers. And there are a few other things that we're still putting together that you will take a bit of time. Now, I like to say, as I say that, that obviously it was a very frustrating period for us internally. I think I did my famous tweets during that time.
I saw those.
How frustrated we were, but more because we felt the pain of our customers. Customers should have to go through that pain on a decision that we made too much. And so that was part of my frustration. We're in a much better place. COVID did not help, but I think we have our staff were willing to come back to work in September. All of them came back to work in October, really to support customers because we knew the pain that customers were going through. And that has helped us get over that period a lot faster than I think we would have. We do apologize that some are still going through some pain. Help is on the way.
Okay. And so we won't take too long, but I'm hoping you'll give us another maybe 5-10 minutes.
Sure.
It's to do with all the new tech advances that we are making. Are we catching on quickly enough? For instance, what's your view on cryptocurrency, its acceptance in Kenya, and maybe facilitation by the banks? I'm speaking with El Salvador in mind. You know, they've just kind of authorized Bitcoin as a country tender, a legal country tender. So how do you see that unfolding?
Irene, I think it's fair to say I know very little about cryptocurrency. So okay. I would be lying if I tried to answer that with the respect and intelligence this house deserves.
Okay. Then, are we looking at kind of innovating the banking space? Because we've gone digital, we've gone, I wouldn't say take on the cryptocurrencies, but do you see us marrying our services to expand the scope of what we can offer? For instance, if I had Bitcoin, you don't accept stock as collateral. You wouldn't look at Bitcoin then. Is that going to change anytime soon? Like, do we ever get to a place where stock can also be accepted as collateral?
I think so. I actually think so. And I know today people are able to borrow against Bitcoins, not in this country, but elsewhere. Yeah. So I think it's an evolving area. I would say that, you know, Bitcoins today, unfortunately, we call it cryptocurrency. Yeah. But I think of it the way I think about gold. Yeah, it's a gold currency in my view. That's why the price to the dollar keeps changing. Otherwise, it won't change as fast as it does. That's why it's an investment. Otherwise, people would not be making the kind of investment they make into Bitcoin. It will take time for it to stabilize as a currency. Yeah. The reason I say that is that the currency only makes sense when, if you're going to pay me 3 Bitcoins and you tell me, well, I'll pay you by the end of the week, I'm not worried that by the end of the week, it will be worth nothing. Unfortunately, today, that's how Bitcoins are, right? So when I hear people call it currency, I always say, no, not exactly. It's not a currency yet. Cannot tell me, if you tell me you pay me $10 by the end of the week, it will still be $10. Yes, it may have lost a bit of value, but it wouldn't be, as we see with Bitcoins. I think once it stabilizes and it becomes a currency, I think you'll see a lot more adoption at that point. Once also the security risks are addressed, because I'm sure you've read that quite large amounts of Bitcoins have disappeared. Yes. I think once it stabilizes from a cybersecurity perspective also, I think it will become a lot more acceptable from where we are. I just as I discuss that, I also like to tell people that M-Pesa is not very different from a cryptocurrency. I mean, we hold M-Pesa, it's crypto, it's it's digital, and we exchange messages all day, which we call M-Pesa money. So it's not too dissimilar. But obviously, crypto is it's a lot more advanced.
And so I'll ask the last question before I go around Mike and Becky to just say the last thing, and then back to you for a final word. I'm worried about the shilling. I didn't think I had to be before COVID that even if it was depreciating, not at the rate, but looking at it now, I'm worried. Where do you see that going? Are you worried too?
I actually, when I called you, I was in traffic. I was coming from a meeting on the Shilling from the with the regulator, and I say that to perhaps lend some credence to what I'm going to say.
Yeah,
I am not worried at all. Okay, I'm not worried. When we look at the things that we look at from a currency perspective, the balance of payments. The flows that we are seeing from from the diaspora flows. We look at how much cash is being held by banks from a dollar perspective. I'm actually not worried at all. And you look at the balance of between demand and supply, which the central bank has all that data. I'm not worried at all. So I think what you saw was a very, what I'd call, it wasn't really a demand-driven problem. Sorry, it was actually a demand-driven problem that should have been resolved in a day, because I believe that it was due to some dividends, large dividends that needed to be paid. As you know, there are a number of banks that have bought banks overseas, and not overseas, across borders, and they have to pay for those acquisitions in dollars. I know that sort of happened around the same month of August. But the money is there. It's the supply on a single day that may not have been there. Today, I'm not worried. And I don't think as an individual, you walk to a bank and not be able to buy dollars. I don't think you'll find that problem today. So I am not worried at all.
So is it overly optimistic then to hope that the shilling will recover somewhat? Because right now it's at what, near 110?
Yes, right now it's near 110. My guess is that it's going to recover. I mean, we saw that November, December, we had the same phenomenon. The shilling weakened quite a bit. And then it strengthened to the point where I think in April, we're touching, I believe, 105. So I don't see why that will not happen. I'm pretty confident that we will come back. I think the other point I also want to make is that even as we look at the shilling, we also must look at the dollar. The dollar has strengthened quite a bit in the last few months. And that's because there has been this flight to quality, to the point where the dollar interest rates are almost touching zero because everyone's due on a dollar. And that obviously has an effect on the shilling. Even if the shilling just sat there doing nothing, it will still weaken just because the dollar is strengthening. And that's true of every currency today. Most currencies are weakened against the dollar.
Okay. And so we'll start to wrap up. And Mike, I'll ask if you could give us your view on the economy going forward, given COVID and given where we are right now. What's your word of encouragement for those that are feeling these are tough times, and how do we recover going forward?
Irene, I think that just like those who came into this COVID crisis in better shape, and particularly with a stronger culture, are those that went through COVID better. Those who had better governance, who had more engaged staff, like the organizations where I'm a director, Occidental Insurance, Davis and Shirtliff, we've done reasonably well. Our figures are okay. And that's because people trust us. And I think it's these organizations that have been tested and strengthened during the pandemic who will emerge even disproportionately more strong beyond it relative to others. And those who weren't ESGing and weren't being fair to customers, to employees, to other stakeholders, they're the ones who will be disproportionately less sustainable. And just hearing about NCBA this evening, and knowing people like Isaac Owando for decades, and hearing John speak this evening, it's not surprising that NCBA is doing well. I remember from the 1980s when NIC was an IT customer of ours. They had one of our Wang computers. They were an excellent customers. They were one of our best customers. And so that's why they remain sustainable, mergeable, and they will continue. But many, and not least these family businesses that are not professionalizing with professional management and independent directors, they will worry. I do some work with these family businesses, and this year they've been putting things off because of COVID. And we're a bit of a luxury consultants. And now they're already saying, well, you know, next year the election and stuff. But those who are staying with us, who understand the value of professionalizing, they will do well. As competition continues to get fiercer, professionalizing is no longer an optional extra for family businesses. Despite which, John was talking earlier about KEPSA and, you know, big is beautiful or big is ugly. I know that over the years, KEPSA and within it, organizations like the Kenya Association of Manufacturers have tried so hard to reach out to SMEs and indeed MSMEs to help them professionalize, to help them understand how to go to scale. But these guys are too operationally committed. They don't have the time to invest, or they don't make the time to invest in taking advantage of the KEPSAs and the CAMs. And they then sort of pseudo-justify it by saying, oh, they're only for the big boys. It's not the case. Or rather, it is only the case because of the lack of availability of too many of the people lower down in the pyramid to make time to listen to what bankers and manufacturing bodies and others, umbrella bodies like KEPSA, have to say. This is the future. Professionalize or worry.
Okay, thank you. Professionalize or worry. Take note of that. Becky, what do you have as a last word? Keep it short. For young people, how do you see yourself navigating this, and how would you encourage someone in your shoes to carry on?
I think what comes to mind is I've seen a lot of memes, especially on Twitter, where people talk about either buying a pizza or a bag of cement or a few bricks. What I'm looking forward is people having securities in stocks as part of that conversation and thinking in terms of either Chrome Gene or a few shares here and there. So I'm looking forward to, I'm very thankful that these conversations about bringing on board more young people and creating awareness about investing in the public stock exchange, getting mainstream, becoming mainstream. So I look forward to meeting those memes. I probably will create one just to see how it goes, because that's really what I would wish, that I would have encountered this kind of information in a very informal way so that it doesn't appear as something abstract. So that's all I can hope for my generation.
Perfect. Thank you, Becky. I'm sure those in your shoes, there are quite a few actually are listening. And John, we come back to you. The last time you were with us, you gave me a quote. The builder of the fridge was not the one selling ice. I'm looking for a closing remarks and a quote like that can sum up today, because I feel that we are wiser and we are more encouraged now that you came and shared with us. So before I say thank you, I'll wrap it up and then give me a quote that I can take with me.
Well, first of all, let me thank you, Irene, and fellow panelists, Mike, Rebecca, Jeff, and Michael, I think, who dropped off, for the opportunity to engage, and also to all those who are listening to us and sending questions for the opportunity to engage. I think it's been really good questions coming through. Mike summed it quite well, that, professionalize or worry, I think has to be our takeaway, that that those who create, who create sustainability today are the ones who will be there in the future. So sustainability matters, and professionalizing is a very, very important part of sustainability. I think that's important, and we'll see those companies are the ones who will list on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, and the ones that will become the regional behemoths over time. I think that's important. I think for me is to say that, look, the future for me is bright, as I said before. The future is bright. Right now, things are down. Right now, we're in the valley. But as Martin Luther King once said, I think if you look up, you'll actually see the mountain. And that's where we're headed. If you can see the mountain, you just have to stay alive long enough to get to the hilltop or to the mountaintop. I wish everybody a good evening.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Can I ask a favor, that because we won't have you here as often as we would like, that we ask you one question every month that you can answer on whatever form, maybe email or Twitter, just 1 month on the topic of the day. And that way we can keep getting your wisdom, because we can't monopolize on your time. Can you commit to that?
For you, Irene, certainly.
Thank you. I really, really do appreciate. We can't thank you enough for coming through. We have learned a lot, especially on where banking is going and where the economy is going. And you have summed it up by saying that the shilling will hold its own. We shouldn't worry too much. And for making the time and for always, bringing it. You always come prepared. And so we feel that we are wiser every time we talk to you. We thank you very much. We had about, I think, 175 people listening at the height of the session. So that just shows you that people are hungry to hear from you. So thank you very much. And we hope to see you next time. And until then, stay safe and stay well. And to everyone else, thank you so much for coming and staying until the very last minute. We hope to see you next month with another session like this one. I'm going to say good night, and those who are driving, travel safe. Thank you.
Thank you and good night.
Good night.
Good night.